Hello and welcome to another vlog. Got a few things to show you this time. I have finished painting the little things from Forbidden Island. So let's dive straight in with those. First of all, I've got here some bad lighting and the Earthstone. Like I mentioned before, tried to paint this up to look like a geode. So we've got a kind of amethyst thing going on with the innards there, and the rest is sort of plain brownish greyish stone. Not bad. It's got not a terrible mould line through it, but yeah, one I probably could have cleaned up but didn't. But to be honest, I'm not sure how this plastic would have taken to being cleaned up, so I'd probably have made it worse trying to cut that down with a knife. Anyway, so yeah, overall quite pleased with that. That'll make a nice sort of arcane artifact for a dungeon somewhere. And if we get around to playing Forbidden Island, well, nicely painted piece. And there's 3 others to go. Next I've got the statue. The Statue of the Wind. It's a winged lion. So it's not quite a manticore, not quite a griffin. It's a winged lion. That's probably a creature in somebody's mythology. I have tried to sort of preserve the original colours of the pieces. This was yellow, as you can see from the underneath there, which is not painted. Sneaky, not painting underneath the things. So to sort of preserve that colour, I have painted this gold, which has retroactively led me to retcon, that was an interesting sentence, that this is going to be a statue that either sits in or sort of in front of the tavern my D&D party reside at, which is called the Golden Lion. So this is retconned the statue that the tavern is named after. Yeah, not bad. Again, mould lines, not quite so noticeable, but if you look for them, they're there, and I haven't cleaned them off, and that's on me. Interestingly, talking about the materials, this one, fit it in frame, ruin the lighting with your hand. This one, different plastic to this one. This is a very kind of soft, quite bendy plastic. This is a lot more solid and rigid. In fact, each of these pieces seems to have been made from this different plastic. And I'll mention that as I go. Right, let's have them sit back there with the sort of... Is it a logo? Is it a sign? We don't know. Right. So what's up next? The Crystal of Fire. This is what initially attracted my attention, I think, or was it the Earthstone? Probably both. When I when I was looking at the game in the shop before I bought it, was yeah, just a nice piece. It's nice. It was doesn't show, but it was transparent red. You'll have seen it in a previous video if you watched the previous video, and if you haven't, you won't. Yeah, Crystal Fire. Originally red. I went with orange because that's a fire colour. And yeah, came out quite well. I've basically used the colours I would use to paint fire, but used the technique I used to paint crystal. So, Crystal of Fire. Stone bit there on the bottom. Not much more to say about that. Did manage to clean some of the mould lines off this. Other ones sort of align nicely with where the crystally bits are all crystally. So I'm doing some really brilliant sentences this morning. There is an injection point there, which I don't know why they couldn't have just put underneath, but yeah, could have filled that with green stuff, milliparts, but I didn't. I'll be honest, These are a bit rushed because I was looking forward to painting because they were very easy to do and made me feel very productive. Right, you go sit back there. And finally, the Ocean's Chalice. Sort of holy grail of the seas thing going on. Great piece this. Nice, it's got like tentacle details at the bottom there, barnacles, fish scales, kind of a... Actually, now I look at that, it's not so much a clamshell, is it? I don't know. I thought those were clamshells, but now I look at it more closely, no. Again, try and preserve the colour here. This... Oh, I did paint the underneath of this one. This one was originally sort of turquoise blue, so what I did is I painted it in sort of a very warm bronzy colour and slapped on tons of verdigris as I went. Initially started out with a heavy dry brush of, I think, hawk turquoise. I can never remember what colours I use anymore, but a turquoisey turquoise was painted on. Then I dry brushed on all the metals, and then I went back with various green washes to sort of get this effect. Very pleased with that. I will be doing more verdigris type effects with that in the future. Right, I'm going to put these sort of here. Oh, maybe I'll do like two at a time because of how I've got this framed at the moment. And I will show you to scale using Hlekjar, the elf, who is in no way associated with a popular Nintendo franchise. Are you, Hlekjar? Right, yeah, so lion statue, quite a good size. This obviously too big to be a actual cup, but I think would make a rather nice brazier in the sort of Lovecraftian Cthulhu / Dagon type temple. Yeah, quite pleased with that. And we got yeah, the Earthstone geode there. Yeah, quite big, but probably a nice centerpiece for some kind of arcane temple, or like maybe a wizard's workshop or something. I could see this with sort of some kind of focusing crystals or something pointing into it, drawing out the arcane energies, or it could be part of a puzzle or something. Something with lasers, maybe something with lasers. And in a similar context, these, in fact, well, these each cover an element, so what I could do is a bunch of quests that involve this guy here going to a temple of each element and retrieving a treasure. Because that's the sort of thing you'd do, isn't it? Yeah. And yeah, one more thing to show you. I'm just going to move these things out of the way. Over there, right. Just stand there, Hlekjar. I'm sure nothing bad will happen to you. Tillically! 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 Oh yes, I finished painting the Shoggoth. Yeah! And various sound effects like that. Yeah, very pleased with this. Started out with a greyish green, put a very dark green wash over it I've got called Military Shader, which came from Army Painter. I will post a link to that in the description below. And yeah, used yellow on the eyes with a very light green ink over to get the sort of greenish, yellowish, phosphorescent glow thing going on, as in the way that Shoggoths are described in the Mountains of Madness. Yeah, very pleased with this. Came out nice. Put pupils in the eyes so they're sort of weird and staring and all looking in different directions. I love the sculpting detail on this because it really gets across the idea that these eyes are sort of bubbling to the surface. Yeah, colour scheme was inspired by this picture. And yeah, I think I matched that fairly well. It was, well, if you see that, it's clearly my inspiration there. I didn't quite go as yellow with the eyes because I wanted to match the initial description of the phosphorescent green eyes. Yeah, that's... I've nothing much to say about this, other than that I'd rather like it. Just show it to scale with poor Flekia again. Yeah, you know, you go into ancient temples of the element, Flekia, you're going to get eaten by some Eldritch abomination. It's going to happen. I'm going to stop here. If you like this video, subscribe. And if you subscribe to my channel, like this video. I need a goodbye catchphrase.